Start another week of Tall Can Audio with a shout out the TCA House Band, as always. Matt Robinson with you, a long way from the TCA studio in beautiful Bytown, Canada. We have indeed taken it back to the water, joined today by, honestly, especially this time of year, one of my absolute favorite people because she enables this behavior and allows me to do this. Michaela Schreiter from She's Got Game on the TSN Radio Network is back. What's happening, Schreids?
Just vibing to these AI beats, Matt. I'm loving it. Every week I've been on in the summer, there's a new song, and I'm just like, you can't see me, but I'm sitting here just vibing. I love
it. As I said, I appreciate you making a little time today. How are things in your world?
Oh, fantastic. I'm so sick of being sweaty.
Yes.
I listen, I know I do this every year. I'm pretty sure I did this on the podcast last year. I am one of those people who will complain about the heat in the summer. I don't care. You can, we'll wait till the winter. Yeah. I'll complain in the winter too.
Sure.
I'm allowed to do both. It's a free country.
I'm capable of being unhappy in many seasons.
Exactly. I'm sick of being sad and sweaty. I want to be sad and chilly. Right. I want to put a blanket around myself. I want to make a nice cup of hot chocolate and sit on my couch and watch a scary movie while the fall leaves turn color outside my window, and It's a crisp evening. I am so sick of this heat. Anyway, I'm really happy to be here, Matt. Thanks for having me.
I'm getting that. Yeah, you're coming across as you're in a very good place, I can tell you.
I bring the ray of sunshine always.
Well, it's funny because I just ran a sound check with Schreids before we started, and I used this button.
I was feeling very sad.
Sounds you may be closer to rage, but either way, we're somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
You were down at the Rapid game on Saturday. I'm curious, just quickly, oppressive heat. Is the press box? Did they do anything for you there? What did it look like? I did watch a little bit of the Argos and the REDBLACKS. We'll talk about that in a minute as well, but that also looked very warm, very unpleasant to be just stuck sitting there baking in the heat. What was it like at TD Place?
I was very privileged. The press box is air conditioned, okay. And we have our own little studio booth that Vanessa and I usually sit in, and like you can open the windows, so on a much more reasonable temperature day, you can hear more of the sounds from the field and stuff like that, or get some air into the studio.
Right.
But we did none of that yesterday because we just needed to lock in the cold, and the air conditioning was working. I was not hot until we had to walk out onto field level, so no complaints here.
Okay, yeah. Those windows in the press box are the same ones that got somebody in trouble there a couple of years ago. I don't know if you remember this story or not, but AJ Jakubek doing a REDBLACKS game had the windows open. It was a cool night. And there was someone right in front of him turning around, yelling and screaming at him. And
I do remember that, yeah.
So it's a double-edged sword, I guess. Yep. Sometimes better to keep it closed off. It is hot as hell where I'm sitting here beside the water, and so it seems like a good time as any for a beer. What are you riding with, Schreids?
Well, I'm going with, I think, like a perfect beer for kind of this weather, but also for like a Sunday afternoon. It's a new one from Stalwart. It's called Needle in the Hay. They're ethereal light ale. Hang on, sound effects.
Atta girl. She knows what's up.
Right? Not my first rodeo.
No.
They just released this one. It's a 3.9%. It's a light ale, but it actually tastes like it's got a good amount of flavor.
Right.
And it's again the perfect kind of beer for what you're doing right now. It's crushable because it's 3.9%, but it's got good flavor. It's it's early Sunday afternoon, so we don't want to go too hard.
Right.
So yeah, Needle in the Hay by Stalwart.
So, not wanting to go too hard. If you recall, a month or so ago when you were last on, I did open up a little too strong. I think there was a 10.2% IPA. And it was a foolish decision at 12:30 in the afternoon. I did try and coast on the second beer. It was a 2% or 2.5% something. But I still found myself a little drowsy later in the afternoon and not above a nap at that point. But so I have pumped the brakes this time, but I do still like the name of this one as I start my my holiday here at the lake. This is called Wide Open Throttle, and it's just 5%, so it's a safe place to start, but it is a Pilsner, and same as you, I've got two beers sitting here, but they're both in this kind of, what do I want today? I'm one of those guys, as you know, any season is stout season or, that kind of stuff. Today I was really just looking for something kind of cool and Easy to ride with. So the first one here, is a Pilsner from Perth Brewery called Wide Open Throttle. I was just a couple of weeks ago driving past Perth and hadn't been in a while, and they had a few different new things that I hadn't heard of. I kind of thought I had tried everything from Perth, but they had updated a few things, so went in, was happy to try that. So that's what we're going to start with here today. Schreids is the Wide Open Throttle.
Nice. Yeah. Much more reasonable than your choice last time I was here.
Yeah,
as you mentioned.
That's right. Sometimes you just get out over your skis a little bit.
Yeah, listen, we all make decisions.
This is it. We all make decisions. Hey, you were the one who had pointed out to me right there in Madoc, 762 Craft Brew had popped up. You were the first person I'd heard talk about it. New name, new management. It's not currently open. I don't know exactly when this has been turned over, and I've been trying to find any information on whether it was a total sale and new management. Sometimes, one partner will stay and rename it, but it's going to be called, it says it's reopening soon, but it's going to be called Gold Rush Brewing. Same location right there in Madoc. And it is a cool spot. Like if you are cruising back and forth between Peterborough and Ottawa, or like Highway 7, a busy highway, in theory it should, you'd think it would do pretty well for a place that's easy to pop into and stop it. But I guess for whatever reason, it didn't work out for 762. But coming soon, Gold Rush Brewing.
I love that. I love a good cottage area beer or brewery. Yeah. Like a brewery being located in a small town in cottage country is like, that's a gold mine. And more people should be doing this because gold rush, exactly. You're heading up to the cottage, you got to pick up some beer.
Of course.
You don't want to necessarily drink crap.
Nope.
It's right there. It's perfect.
Love it. So we'll look forward to that on one of these trips back and forth. We'll stop in and we'll check out some Gold Rush. Man, we could start in a bunch of different places here today, Schreids, but why don't we start with a little hockey? Because it's hot as hell and it's August and people's minds are always on hockey when that's the case. So why don't we do that? There was an article released just, I guess it was Wednesday or Thursday, that said that Emily Clarke of the Ottawa Charge is now, after a restructuring of her contract, the highest paid player in the PWHL. Now, be honest with you, I know these things are temporary, right? It's whoever renegotiates next typically ends up in that spot. We've seen, like right now, Connor McDavid is not the highest paid player in the NHL, right? He signed his deal a long time ago. People get ahead of him. But it is interesting in a league with names like Marie-Philippe Poulin, the best player in the world. It's odd to hear that she is not the highest paid player in the league. But for now, it's Emily Clarke. And I'm just sort of curious what your take on this is, as Ottawa has had a rough off-season, whether this might have been to keep her happy, not to suggest she's unhappy or a malcontent of any kind, but why don't we sit down, renegotiate the contract? I do believe they tagged another year onto it. What did you make of the news that this is now the highest paid player in the league?
Yeah, it is one of those things of like, the most recent contract being signed is the highest paid player in the league just because of where the salaries are at right now. Like before it was Emily Clarke, it was Sarah Fillier, who was Rookie of the Year last year and is a fantastic player, but is entering her second season in the PWHL. So it's just kind of the nature of where we are right now. Because I said the same thing when it was announced that Sarah Fillier was the highest paid player. I was like, hey, MPP might like a word.
Sure.
And we can't always see the exact terms of deals, but I know salaries are disclosed within the league to other players and agents and stuff like that. So I do suspect like the next time Marie-Philippe Poulin's contract is up, she will be the new highest paid player. And then it will be whoever's next.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. I personally am a massive Emily Clarke fan. I wax poetic about her every chance I get. I think she's a fantastic player. I think she's such an underrated player. So I'm not going to lie, I was kind of happy to see her get a little bit of love and get her money. But yeah, like in terms of like why she's the highest paid player, I think it's literally just the nature of how the contracts are rolling out right now, much like other leagues. I think personally, if they want to keep Emily Clarke happy, yes, pay her money. 2, bring in Jamie Bourbonnais, because we need a power couple on the Ottawa Charge. And Jamie Bourbonnais, currently sitting in New York, apparently is rumored to be going elsewhere. And I'm like, Ottawa, what are you doing?
Right.
Just sign her, make Emily Clarke happy, bring her girlfriend in. We will have a power couple on this team, and everything this offseason will be forgotten, I promise.
This is one of those things where, like, I'm a big fan of the PWHL and the Charge and everything else, but there are certain elements of the league that I don't totally understand. There was a podcast that came out, a YouTube show, I don't know, this is like 3 weeks ago, a month ago. You maybe saw it, but it was
No Straight Answers with Zoe Boyd.
That's the one.
Yep.
And within 3 or 4 minutes, they were talking about Emily Clarke's toes. And I'm like, good for you guys. This seems fun, but I'm not sure this is my show. Like, are we going to talk about the PP, the penalty kill, anything like? And look, I love that those shows exist, but I'm kind of like, there are still elements of women's sports that I'm going to stumble into and go, I'm not sure what I'm to do with this particular bit of information I've just been handed.
I promise you, Matt, get on board. The relationship drama in women's sports is just so much fun. And I love it personally, not just because I love drama, but like I love the relationship side of things, because I think it's a wonderful like sidebar of whether we're talking about hockey or basketball or soccer or whatever. Like, it is a wonderful sidebar when we get to say like, oh, so and so got traded to a team with her wife on it. Like, Isn't that wonderful? Marie-Philip Poulin and Laura Stacey get to play together every game. Like, I think it's a wonderful aspect of women's sports. And I love that Zoe Boyd has a podcast, and I love when players have podcasts, because you get those interviews where like Emily Clarke would never come on She's Got Game and talk about that, but she would talk to her teammate or her ex-teammate or her friend about it. And so you get the personality side of these players, which is so much fun. Because like, I'm not going to lie to you, I don't care I don't care to hear what a player thinks about their stat line. I hear about that every post-game press conference. And I don't know if you've ever sat through a post-game interview with a player and gone, that was riveting.
No, I have never.
Very
said
rare.
That. Never
men's
said
or
that.
men's or women's sports, like athletes in general, when they're asked about the minutia of the game, it's not always that interesting. But when you can get their personality out, that's where it's fun, and that's
Bob
where
McCown,
I love.
Who was my growing up, I never missed primetime sports. Loved his show, right? Oh, and he said over and over and over. People say, for the leading sports show in the country, you don't have many athletes on. He goes, athletes are boring. Like, they're not going to come on here and say anything. And, that was obviously in a world before player-hosted podcasts and things like that, where maybe they will let their guard down a little more and have a little more fun. But his thing was always like, yeah, like now and then, if there's a reason to, and it's a big deal or a big name or something, like we can go ahead and do it, but they're not going to say anything. And so it's just not worth my time to try and pull things out of them. But you're right. Now the NBA is the first league that I can really recall, and just anecdotally speaking, where like players went all in. It's just like, yeah, we're going to have our buddies on, and I'm traveling around, and I got millions of dollars. I can buy a couple of microphones, and we'll just sit around and shoot the shit about stuff that maybe has nothing to do with tonight's game or whatever else, but we can, so why not? And that seems to have branched out to all kinds of different sports, and it is fun. It is a different vibe, but that particular vibe that day made me feel like I still got some things to learn here. And there's some hypocrisy to it that I'm afraid of, because for years I have hated shows like Entertainment Tonight or whatever. Like, this musician was seen going into such and such restaurant with so and so superstar model or whatever. I'm like, I don't care. Like, I'm mildly interested in these people's movies or their music or whatever. I don't care who they're dating. And that was something I was always able to say on SportsCenter. Like, very rarely did you hear who a player was dating or whatever else. But it does open doors to different elements to it, right? People nowadays want to be closer to players, get more information than ever before, and if they're willing to share their personal lives, then maybe that's just crusty, grumpy old white guy Matt in his 40s that's missed the boat, and other people are loving it.
No, I love it. It's so much fun.
I'm getting that. Were you surprised at the numbers we were hearing? When we talk about highest paid player in the league, it's low 100,000s at this point. And I think we knew when the league started there had to be 3 or 4 players making at least 80. Is that correct? I think that was the number. But there was no official cap for one player. The team had a cap at like 1.2 million or something like that. So you can kind of figure it out. But to now hear, okay, we've got Emily Clarke at about, I think they said 105,000. I may have that wrong. You can correct me if I do. But, were you aware that was sort of the number?
Yeah, I think 105, a bit over 100 is what's been reported. And yeah, the only requirement under the CBA is to have at least 6 players on a team making at least 80,000 per season, minimum salary of 35, salary cap of $1.3 million. So it makes sense. It's do I think these players deserve more money? Absolutely. Sure. But this is, where we are right now with the current salary cap. I'm sure it'll continue to go up under the next CBA whenever that is.
Yeah.
But it's like, the unfortunate reality of women's sports right now is that none of them are making enough money, and they all deserve more. So I would like to see those numbers. That's why I think every contract that's signed is going to be the new highest paid contract, because you're just going to see these numbers continue to go up.
Do you think they would be better served to publicly release it? That was one of the things that when the NHLPA was set up was, I think it was Ted Lindsay who said, start telling each other your number, because right now, for the longest time, it was taboo. Don't tell those guys. I'm going to give you an extra 5,000, but don't tell so and so. Or then it was like this little secret and made you feel good until guys got caught on and were like, actually, no. The more we know about each other's salaries, the more we can use it against you. And It was good for players. At the same time, I wonder if there's some protecting players, when. Frankly, the numbers are still as low as they are in women's hockey. As you said, we need this to go up a little. The players at the bottom of the roster are still making fairly, meager livings. Is it, in your mind, do we still keep it private to protect some people, or is it would they be better served to start making this public? I guess the other difference in this is that the whole league's owned by one entity, so who are you competing against, really? I'm curious, would they be better served, in your opinion, for it to go public?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think when we hide salaries, the only people who benefit are the employers, and the employees deserve to be paid fairly, and the only way that happens is when everyone's open about their salary in any industry, in any sport. And yeah, they're owned by one entity now. I think the plan is eventually to have teams be owned by individual groups or whatever. And that's where it becomes really important, because you are going to have, we see it in the WNBA all the time. You're going to have teams that are owned by people who care and who invest. And then you're going to have teams teams who are owned by people who just want a tax write-off. Yep. And guess who's not going to pay their players fairly? But they're going to be the team who doesn't get any good players, because they see what these other players are making over here and they want to go over that. That's where that transparency of salary is really important. But I also think like I said earlier, I think across the board in women's sports, these athletes are underpaid, and I want people to see how underpaid they are, so it makes them just as mad as it makes me. Sure. And that we can continue to advocate for them being paid fairly. And, we're going to continue to watch this league grow. And if we can see that the salaries are not going up in accordance with that, then, well, that's a problem. And it's good. It's good for fans to have. It's good for media to have. And
is the PWHL unique in this? Does WNBA, do we know what WNBA stars are making, women's soccer players are making?
You do, but there's not a cap-friendly equivalent in the WNBA. 9 times out of 10, you see... But sometimes you don't. I think it was Brianna Stewart signed not that long ago, and I don't think we saw the terms of her contract. It's kind of up to the agent and the player as to whether or not they release it. But we knew how much Caitlin Clarke was making in her entry level contract, and people were raging about that, rightfully so. I think that's important, because I think you want people to hold the league accountable to pay these players fairly, and I think public disclosure of salaries is how you get there.
Last hockey note. For this August 10th recording of the podcast. We did see over the last week or two, Hockey Canada announce their list of invitees to orientation camp here later in August for the women's teams, the men's teams, and the sledge hockey team. I believe there was 30 women invited. And I think in a world like this, especially now where we have the PWHL, it gives everybody a little more... of a vested interest in, we all knew from watching World Championships or the Olympics who Sarah Nurse was and who Marie-Philippe Poulin was, but we weren't always super familiar with the person who was just trying to make the team on the fourth line or might be that backup goalie or the third pair defender. But now we see our own players every night, and obviously in that regard, a name that jumps out to me who wasn't invited was Ashton Bell. I don't know if that's justified or not, but I now have a vested interest in wanting to see my player recognized. No different than any other sports fan does in their sport and when national teams come out. Was there, in your mind, any big surprises in terms of people who were invited or people who were left off the invite list?
Definitely Ashton Bell is the one that stood out to me. Not just, because I've watched her here in Ottawa, although no longer here, sad face.
Yeah.
But like she's been a staple on Team Canada for a while, so I was surprised to see that.
To not even get to camp, like this isn't even the roster announcement. Like I don't get to come and try and hold my spot. I
thought that was odd. And again, it's hard. I say this with all-star teams all the time. So I'm like, if I'm going to complain about a player not being on the roster, I need to be able to say who I would take off in exchange for them. And I don't know who I would. But again, I know it's not the roster. It's just camp. So like there's still a lot of flexibility.
Well, the counter to that is the men are getting to bring 43. The women are bringing 30. You couldn't have found room for one or two extras. Or
here we are, right? Like this happens all the time.
Yeah.
I wasn't surprised because she didn't have a great season, but again, she has been a staple here for a while. Kristen Campbell not being among the goalies was a little surprising, but surprising in that she's been good for Team Canada, but she was not good for Toronto last year.
Right.
So I think that might be a little bit of, what have you done for me lately? I'm happy to see Emryn Smashmeyer there, despite being injured. She's still one of the best goalies in the league, one of the best goalies in the world, and she deserves to be there. There's a couple young players, I believe 3 university players, all 2 Minnesota Duluth and 1 Minnesota. Right. I didn't know if they're different schools. I honestly don't know. But Caitlin Kramer is a name I've heard for a while. Chloe Primeriano, I'm not very familiar with, so I'm interested to see.
I am hearing that name more and more, though, right? Like maybe she's on the come up, right? So
same with Yves Gascon. Yeah. Yves Gascon, I've heard quite a bit. I think she's obviously a young up and coming goalie, and I'm always interested in kind of the future of the goaltending situation for Team Canada. So I'm curious to see how she does. But it's one of those things. There's so many good players. Like I think that the only thing is I wish they could have brought more. Like I don't know if there's a cap on 30 on the women's side or why there would be if the men get to bring 40.
Yeah,
doesn't make sense to me.
Do you think there's any kind of, you mentioned Campbell not getting the invite, and for fans specifically sometimes in the nation's capital, you look at the fact that Toronto is being run by the GM and coach of Team Canada. You go, I wonder if that's a benefit to them in the sense that players want to get down there. And obviously you don't have to look much further than Darryl Watts. Put yourself back on their radar, build trust with them. I wonder if there is like a bit of a double-edged sword. If you didn't look good over and over and you kind of rattled the confidence of your coach there in Toronto, if it can hurt you when it comes time to select the national team.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, it is the unfortunate reality on the men's and women's side is it's a bit of a political game, especially with Team Canada, right? We know they love their people.
Yes.
They hire the same, 10 different people in the coaching and management positions every year, and they have their people who they like and they tend to stick with it. And I know that playing for Toronto, at least I've heard, some rumors that playing for Toronto is a bit of a tempting thing for anybody who wants to be on Team Canada because Troy Ryan's there. And I get that. But, at the same time, you got Montreal and Corey Chevry being on, I believe she's an assistant coach with Team Canada, if I'm not mistaken. So they can exist across the league. The reality is when the league is still this small, there's probably a Team Canada coach or manager somewhere within that organization. And it's very easy to get access to these players. So it's hard to say, honestly. Like again, the Kristen Campbell thing is a tough one because she didn't have a great season, but at the same time, she's been a staple for so long that I'm surprised she didn't at least get a chance to prove herself in camp. But maybe
that was
Troy
my
Ryan
point
saw
with Bell
something
as well, right? It's just not necessarily that like you deserve your spot back on the team, but you deserve the opportunity to come and try and hold it, right, or try and maintain it. So we'll see how that shakes loose. We should point out here that across all three of these camps, just because you were not invited does not mean you cannot make the team. If you get out to a killer start to the season, you can still be considered. So none of these players written off completely, but certainly interesting to see where they're at least leaning right now and who they've got their eyes on. Schreids, I wanted to ask you, well, let me put it to you this way first. I watched the first quarter of the Ottawa REDBLACKS on Saturday. It was 22-1. And I decided that was enough. I have watched a lot of this season, and I had seen enough in that game to go, this is done. I do not need to spend any more of my sunny summer Saturday afternoon watching this nonsense. And then they go out there with the Argos and proceed to have one of the all-time shootout games. It ends 46-42 for Ottawa, by the way. And I missed it. I was made aware because my phone started to light up a little bit with, hey, stupid, like, because I did tweet my frustration on the way out the door. It's always important to let people know that you've had enough and you're leaving, Schreids. But I felt now like, oh, I can't be that guy. Like I gotta ride this out. I can't just walk back in now. And maybe I'm the problem, right? I am one of those sports fans that's worried that if I come back, all this good stuff will stop happening. I'm curious, just quickly, do you have a story like you were at a sporting event or you watched a sporting event where you bailed, you're like, this sucks, I'm out, and it came back to go completely the other way, quite as spectacularly as this one did for me?
There were like 5 REDBLACKS games, I want to say, in the 2023 season where they came back late in the game, and I will fully admit I was walking in my car when that happened. I think there was a game against Winnipeg. I might be getting it wrong, but it was like a major comeback, and I left. I want to say we left like at the beginning of the fourth quarter.
The Crumback?
Maybe.
It
might have been the Crumback. I don't remember. Or maybe there was a game we watched, like we were about to leave and we watched from right underneath the Jumbotron.
Right.
And then they won and we left. That may have been the Crumback. But there were so many comeback games that year. Because this team sucked and didn't show up until the last 2 minutes.
Yeah.
So I've done that a handful of times. I am the queen of leaving a sporting event early, and I know people think, oh, it's a fan foul, you can't do that. No, if you paid for a ticket, you can do whatever you want with it. You're an adult. You have to live with the consequences.
Sure.
But you can leave. And I have an hour drive home, and the REDBLACKS didn't have a great season anyway, so the chances of them losing were pretty freaking good every game. And so I would get ahead of traffic a little bit, and I left a couple games where they were they ended up coming back. And I don't know how I feel about it, because on the one hand, if it's my team, I'm like, well, I'm happy they came back.
Yep.
And in the moment, I was like, I was also happy to leave.
Right.
So you won't find me
No.
exactly. You won't find me like feeling too guilty.
I did, as we were rolling down the highway here to the cottage, did put it on when it got close. Listened to AJ on the radio, and he was calling a nice game. But then you kind of get out of town, you start to lose the signal, and it was what it was. I didn't get to see the end of it. But even at they win it 46-42. I still have some questions about the defense coming out of that game, right? I still have some questions about your preparedness to start the game when you find yourself down 22-1 after one quarter. We had a possibility here. Matt Conasvita was on the show last week, and he pointed out, and it didn't quite play out this way, but had Ottawa beat Toronto, which did happen, and had BC lost, Ottawa would have held a playoff spot at 3-6, which is one of those charming things that can only happen in the CFL. But with BC winning, they hold the crossover spot. So with 4 wins, but all of a sudden, with 2 wins over Calgary and a win over Toronto, they're 3-6. But the offense did look good. They're getting healthier. I'm not sure how closely you are following the team this year, but are you still engaged at all, or have they sort of killed your enthusiasm for the year?
I'm torn on how honest to be here. Listen, I only have so much brain power, and it's been a busy summer of sports. The WNBA, the NWSL, the NSL, the Women's Euros, a lot's going on, and I have not paid super close attention to the CFL. I went to one. We don't have season tickets anymore. I went to one Red Blacks game. They lost at the time. I think they were like, they do that a lot. The time it was early in the season. I think they were like 0-3 or 1-4, something like that. Like it was not good. And I was like, well, looks like we're heading for another season like we saw prior to last year. So I just kind of tuned it out, and I have not been paying very close attention to the CFL, I will admit. Now, as we get into the fall, where football becomes in general,
season starts on Labor Day, I'm told.
Yeah, a little bit more of it piques my interest. So the NFL comes back, and generally, like, I love watching football in the fall, so I'll probably pick it back up. But you could tell me that a dinosaur plopped down in the middle of a Rough Riders game, and I believe you, because I just have not been following the CFL very closely this year. I'm so sorry to admit. But I think it's okay. I think this is a safe space.
But this is this is what they've done. You were a season ticket holder, and now you're like, maybe I'll check it out later. Like, this, I don't think this is a unique story. They have damaged this fan base with the performance over the last few years.
Well, that's the thing. It's the same shit every time.
Yeah.
And I think I've said this on the podcast before, but they changed pretty much everything at some point in the last 5-6 years, and nothing got better. I know last year they made the playoffs, and that's great. We thought, okay, they're turning it around. There were still some signs that this team was the team we've been watching for the last couple of years. But they were at least trending in the right direction, and now they've kind of reverted back to what we saw in the early 2020s. I don't know. Time has also been very weird the last 5 years. So it just, to me, our decision was based on, we don't live super close, so it is a commitment for us to go to every game. And I'll admit, the last couple of years, every single game, I was like, ugh, we have another game. It felt like a chore.
Yeah.
So we gave up our seats and we said, okay, if it's a game on a Friday and it looks like the weather's going to be nice, maybe we'll get some last minute tickets, right? It's a big enough stadium that you can do that, and that's wonderful. Yep. But also the schedule was not great this year. There's a lot of Thursday games from what I remember, some Sunday games. I want Friday and Saturday. That is, I've long said this, the CFL needs to own those days. Stop trying to make Thursday night football happen. Own Friday and Saturday. You're not competing with the NFL when they come in September. And that's when people, by and large, want to either sit at home in the summer and watch a game or go to a game. And I wasn't a fan of the way the schedule was laid out. So that's my TED Talk on why we didn't renew our season tickets.
Well, in a similar vein, I'm curious, have the Blue Jays caught your attention? Because
yes,
it is interesting to talk to a lot of people, and the Blue Jays are one of those things that, I'm a hardcore. I watch no matter what, no matter how bad they are. And look, sometimes I watch less engaged than other times. Like last year was a brutal season and they were dead and buried by July or whatever it was. And I'm still one of those guys who wants a baseball game on in the background all summer or whatever. But I'm not actively now engaged in this as much. But this year, obviously, they have outperformed expectations, and this feels not quite the same, but a little like 2015, where a lot of my friends who I won't say don't care, but are far more, when they're good, baseball's one of those sports anybody can follow, and it's on almost every night, and you can kind of jump in and people are aware of, but you kind of pick and choose when you follow. And I'm getting some more of my friends or family who are more casual fans suddenly asking, hey, are these guys for real this year? Or tell me a little bit more about Kevin Gausman or whatever, similar to 2015 where they came out of nowhere. I'm sort of curious, as somebody like yourself, who you mentioned a moment ago, a lot of us find the summer to be kind of dead for sports. That is not your world. That is not your existence with the WNBA going on and as a soccer fan and everything else. Have the Blue Jays been able to crack through this busy summer sports schedule of yours and get on your radar a little more?
Absolutely. Yeah, the summer is not a dead time for women's sports. It's a very busy time for women's sports, which I love because, I have a vested interest needing to talk about women's sports every week. And I am, I'm a Blue Jays fan, but I am a bit of a fringe fan in that, I'll always pay attention to how they're doing. Mm-hmm. But yeah, last year, am I looking forward to turning on a game on a Saturday afternoon? Yeah. No. When they're doing good, am I more likely to do that? Absolutely.
Right.
And I did go to a Jays game this year for the first time since COVID.
Oh, wow.
Which, it was a game that they won. It was super fun. And then it was right before they went on that run that essentially skyrocketed them into first in the AL East. Yep. So that was where I jumped back in. I was like, okay, they're doing good. I'm a little more dialed in now. But
I've always something about it being against the Yankees too. In that run, they smashed the Yankees in 2 consecutive series, and you're like, that gets people's attention, right? Because fuck New York. My team is in first, and we're ahead of New York, and we're beating them up. It was the perfect storm of the opponent that you did it against was a big part of it too, I think.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But I'm also one of those fans who was weirdly following a jet on its way into Toronto in December of 2023. Yeah. So I won't say I'm a fan who jumps on the bandwagon when they're good, but I'm definitely more dialed in when they're good. Just because it's not front and center of my sports, but I'm definitely usually at the very least paying attention. And God, what fun it's been this year, having them be good and be atop the AL East and be able to maintain that, because I got a little nervous when they went on that run. I was like, I don't know, it's early in the
sometimes
there's a lot of baseball.
Hot, right? Yeah. It doesn't last. Yeah, no, I think I had a little of that. I think a lot of us did, this anxiety. And the difference between this team and 2015 was that 2015 was disappointing because you had a lot of talent, right? You had Batista and Encarnacion and some of these guys. And in previous years, you had been in a better position at the trade deadline and didn't do anything. You had players offering to defer money. Can you just go get us a number 3 starter or something? And it just wasn't working. And in 2015, you had these really top-end players, and the team was just underperforming and then got going at the deadline when they made some acquisitions. This team, I think a lot of people thought, when we started this year, okay, this might be it for Vlad. This might be it for Bo. And a lot of the guys around it we're not sure about. And it ended up being all these guys that you weren't sure. Joey Loperfido has been incredible. Ernie Clement. Yes, Vlad has come around and been a lot better, but it was sort of a happy surprise that you ended up in first, and then you get engaged okay, at the deadline, go do something to help these guys, right? Go bolster this a little bit, as opposed to the 2015 where you thought you'd be good and then weren't for 3 months and then suddenly caught fire. It's just a slightly different vibe, but I am getting similar vibes off the people you talk to who are suddenly asking, or not even asking questions, but just want to talk baseball that, normally don't want to talk baseball. It is one of those sports that can kind of grab people midsummer if your team is good and everybody starts to pay attention a little more. And this last week has been fascinating. They went to Colorado, who is just terrible, just awful, and set a franchise record, scoring 45 runs in 3 games. And all of a sudden, you feel pretty good, right? We are king shit, right? We are going to kill. Yeah. As long as we get to play Colorado 9 or 12 more times this year. And then you go to LA, which is the measuring stick series. The Dodgers are that good and have been for a long time. And they've lost the first 2 of 3. We haven't seen what happens here in Game 3 as you and I record this. And they haven't been particularly close. But it's one of those sports where you almost have to remind yourself not to read too much into the smashing that you gave Colorado and the ass-kicking you've taken thus far against LA. In 162-game seasons, the 3 games in Colorado and the 2 games so far in LA, they're just such small sample sizes. But it's hard to keep that perspective, right? You engage every night, and Boston's right on your tail, and you're trying to win the league, and you still cheer every game that way, but you do almost have to give yourself this subtle reminder, like, okay, it's not the end of the world here. Like, we're still in first. Everything's still fine. Like last night when Saturday night when they lost 9-0, Boston lost, Houston lost, Detroit lost. Those are all the teams you're battling with at the top of the league. All right, no damage done, right? Like, we're okay here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Jays fans are. I mean, Toronto fans in general are never really comfortable being ahead, so they're always waiting for the shoe to drop and for things to go south. And again, because baseball is what it is, and the season is so long and things can change so quickly, I think it's fair to you look being 3 games ahead on Boston is like that's nothing.
No,
that can change in a week.
Sure.
So it's. I get the trepidation, but this is the beauty of sports, right? Is that winning will generate fans.
Well, and you never thought you'd be here, so enjoy it. Yes, it's stressful. It's supposed to be. Like,
we're supposed to have a bad time, guys. Just get on board. This is what sports are about. But yeah, like I think any sport, like you see when the Sens are in the playoffs, all the city lights up, and when they're 100%. Not, it's all the diehard fans, and that's the nature of sports. And I think it's totally baseball. You're right. Is one of those sports that I think it feels more extreme. Yeah, because it's not growing in terms of fandom, unfortunately. Right. They're having a hard time grabbing younger fans, and so when the Jays are good, it's amazing how quickly people get into baseball and realize. As much as anything, the Dome becomes the place
to be, right? Like, it's cool to go, so that's where you hook young people again. And
absolutely, and I do think they've a lot of the changes they made, like the pitch clock in particular. Like, I'm a big fan of all of that. Yes, I think it's actually being at the game back. I think it was at the end of May. I felt like it was moving fast, and I've never watched a baseball game and felt that in my life. Yeah. So that was nice, and I think that is one of the ways that you have to hook people, because it is like. I can't stress this enough. Anytime you talk to a diehard baseball fan and you say, "Oh, it's boring," they'll say, like, "It's a patient game." And I'm like, I'm not watching sports to be patient. Right. That's not. I'm here to yell at the TV and have my blood pressure rise to an unhealthy level. I'm not here to meditate. Like, it always cracks me up when people try to sell baseball to non-baseball fans by saying it's boring and you'll learn to love it. Like, no, we need to do better than that.
No, you're right. I was a little worried about the pitch clock, but I shouldn't have been, because my favorite thing about baseball was the fact that there was no game clock. Like, you can't take a knee when you have the lead like you can in football. You can't take the puck into the corner and just grind out the last minute. Whatever it might be that you can do in other sports, you have to get 27 guys out. You have to come beat me. And I liked that. To me, that was a cool feature of the sport, that the clock isn't coming to save you. And in reality, the pitch clock did not change that. You still have to get all those guys out. You do have to get your shit together in terms of how fast you get to them. And that was fine. And that did the number of 4-hour games at Yankee Stadium or Fenway Park or whatever in year one of the pitch clock dropped by 2/3. Like, it was an incredible, noticeable difference to the game. And now I don't even notice it, right? Like, now it's just normal and it's just part of the game. So that was brilliantly put into place, I thought. But a couple other things on the women's sports side of things I want to ask you about here, Schreids. But before we do, we started this with Matt Connis Vita. We've asked a couple people this summer. We will throughout the rest of the summer. Want to talk about spite. Want to talk about a good hate watch.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm curious, what stands out to you as a game where your team isn't involved? It wasn't even necessarily that your team would benefit from the team you hate losing, but there was just a game where you're I can't stand these guys, and I don't care who they're playing. I'm cheering against them. Just give me a game where somebody lost and it brought you shameful joy, I believe is the definition of schadenfreude.
Listen, Matt, you're talking to someone who sat through, I believe, 3 seasons now of Emily in Paris. I love a good hate watch. I love being a hater. I will sit through anything in the name of being a hater. And I had so many examples to think of for this. I will admit, some of them I didn't completely follow the rules because I didn't realize them until you just said them now. Some of them do involve my team.
Okay.
But the main example I will give is one that does not involve my team and in fact involves two teams that I absolutely hate.
Okay.
Now, I know that I believe Matt Conisvita took the 4-1 loss for the Leafs with Boston, right? Yeah, he took that one. Okay.
Yeah.
And by that, I mean the 2013 one. So I know that there are other
As I floated this question to all my Ottawa friends, I knew I was opening myself up
you
for
did this
just
to yourself.
Repeated kicks to the dick. But
At this point, this is on you. I could have chosen any one of the Toronto Maple Leafs. I believe it's now 3 losses to Boston in the playoffs since 2013.
13 he took, and then 18, 19, and 24 were all to Boston.
Okay. So I could take any one of those.
Sure.
But I'm not going to.
Okay.
Because the one I'm going to go with came in the year of our Lord, 2021.
Oh, no.
When we were all, let's face it, not doing well. We were all at the lowest of lows in our mental health as the COVID pandemic just raged on, and we had to watch hockey. We got to watch hockey.
Schreids about to shove me back there mentally to my worst phase.
No, I want to paint a picture that just brings everyone back to the worst part of their lives. We got to watch hockey, which was a wonderful thing that had been taken away from us for so long. But there were no fans in the building until later, which I'll get to. Mm-hmm. The Toronto Maple Leafs faced the Montreal Canadiens in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. And what a treat this is for Canadian sports fans because we really haven't seen this in a long time. And the Toronto Maple Leafs go up 3-1 in this series.
They sure did.
And they start to talk like, hey, they might actually do it. They might actually do the thing. They might actually win a round since since 2004. Oh, isn't that nice? And then And then, one by one, games ticked on. The Montreal Canadiens clawed back.
They did do that.
And after game 5, Leaf fans got a little nervous, but no, it's okay. We still got 2 games.
Sure.
2 games to eliminate them.
No problem.
Game 6.
Yeah.
Nope.
Game 5 was the Alex Galchenyuk pizza into the middle of the ice that hurt a lot because that was a former senator and a former Hab who lobbed one right up the middle, kind of similar to what Mitch Marner did against Florida this year, but that hurt a little. And then
do you want to tell the story, Matt? Or do you want me to?
I don't really want either of us to tell. But you go ahead. Okay.
All right.
Okay.
So
yeah,
Toronto leads 3-2.
Yeah, they do. It's gonna be fine.
It's gonna be fine.
It's gonna be fine.
It's gonna be fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, it's not.
We're gonna
right now.
Please.
2 games in a row. Game 5. Was it game 5 and 6?
Yes.
Both went to overtime.
Yeah.
Game 6, Canadiens won.
They killed it in overtime. They were so good. And
they were so good.
And then not.
Just couldn't get it done.
No.
And then game 7 comes along and they barely put up a fight.
Yeah, they were not good.
3-1 the final, just like the Leafs were ahead at one point, and oh my God, did I enjoy the downfall. The absolute crash out that Leaf fans experienced after this when it was so close. This felt like, I know that it was 2023 when they went, no, something needs to change, and then nothing changed because they fired Kyle Dubas and all that shit. Yep. But 2021 felt like, holy fuck, change something, please. It felt like the end. It felt like the last straw because not only did you lose in the first round yet again, you blew a 3-1 series lead. You lost to our division rivals, our biggest rivals, our most historic rivals. And it was just like the absolute worst way that this could have gone. Everything that could go wrong did. And I'm not talking about, by the way, I'm not including the John Tavares injury in this. That was awful, and I did not enjoy that at all.
Yeah.
That was game 1, though. I'm talking from the point that it was 3-1 on. That's where my joy started.
I'm drinking. Who's coming with me?
And
that's where I'm at. That's Schreids.
Listen, Matt, you knew this was coming.
I didn't. I really didn't.
What did you think I was going to say?
I thought there might be a soccer game out there. I thought,
I have those too. I have some honorable mentions.
Or something went down and it benefited Sue Bird or something. I thought this would land in a place where it didn't hurt me, and it hurt me bad.
I promise that's the only Leafs one I'll mention. There were other Leaf ones that I was going to mention that were very random.
This is the worst idea for a segment I've ever had.
I don't know what you were thinking.
I don't know what I was thinking. Any honorable mentions we should hit quickly before?
Yes.
Okay.
So honorable mention in women's soccer in the 2023 in the 2023 Women's World Cup. Mm-hmm. Didn't go well for Canada, by the way. They were out in the group stage. So immediately my focus turned to my soccer fandom is as follows. Canada, number 1. Yep. England, number 2. Number 3, whoever America is playing.
Right.
So in the round of 16, America, at this point, by the way, just to paint a picture, if you thought this was a short segment, that's on you. Just to paint a picture, this is a pivotal tournament for the U.S. women's national team because they're kind of in the transition phase of the previous generation slowly retiring and the new young up-and-comers coming in. And
Sure.
Vlatko Andonovski at the time, the coach, really didn't know how to handle that transition, much to our benefit. So this was Megan Rapinoe's last World Cup. This was, I believe, Alex Morgan's last World Cup. Carly Lloyd had already retired at that point, but this generation of U.S. women's national team players who, while I have a ton of respect for the most part, they were the team, the players that made me hate this team.
Sure.
As a Canadian soccer fan. So watching them in this tournament was very conflicting. We knew this was Megan Rapinoe's last tournament. They go into the round of 16. They play Sweden. So for this game, I am a Sweden fan.
Sure.
It goes to penalty kicks, and up steps Megan Rapinoe, who has never missed a penalty kick for her country. She takes the kick and misses the net completely. And America loses this game by literal millimeters. Sweden scored, and Alyssa Nair, the goalie, thought she saved it, but upon review, it was like a millimeter in, and that's how America learned about the metric system. So they got eliminated, and to this day, asshole. Like the U.S. women's national team are convinced they won this game. Like they couldn't even lose properly, but they got bounced in the round of 16 after winning back-to-back World Cups. Everybody thought they would repeat, and the best part of all, Matt, they did a fucking Netflix documentary on this. They had Netflix following them the whole tournament, thinking we're gonna watch them three-peat. Nope, they got bounced in the round of 16. Oh, God, I love to see it. So not only did I get to watch that happen, and I want to stress, I love Megan Rapinoe, but again, when she plays for the U.S., obviously I don't want good things for her. I'm a Canadian soccer fan.
Right.
But I was a little torn by that because I do love her. But I got to watch them lose in the game in real time, and then I got to watch it all on the Netflix documentary. Oh, it was just great. See, I told you I'm a hater.
Yes, I'm getting that. And it's coming your shameful joy.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I've written down a few of my own here because I'm having to go through this. And I was going to use a different one today, but since you took so much joy in bringing me so much pain, I'd like to talk about the 2008 Super Bowl.
I don't think the Super Bowl happened that year.
Oh, okay.
They didn't hand it out.
This is the New York Giants and the Patriots, who Schreids inexplicably is a fan. And somehow I can't believe how many Patriots fans I have in my life. It's odd. We are into and deep into, although not as deep as we'd get, the Tom Brady New England Patriots being dominant era. And this is the year they're going to go undefeated. And I find myself at my buddy Kyle's place. I think it's the final week of the regular season. You'll remember this more clear. It's Patriots-Giants that night. And the Giants come damn clear. They're going to do it. They're going to save the world from the undefeated regular season. And they can't quite do it. They just can't quite. And stupid Brady and stupid New England find a way like they always do. So a few weeks later, it's the Super Bowl. I'm actually back at my old stomping grounds in Belleville to visit some old friends that weekend. We go out to watch the Super Bowl at the same old lame-ass sports bar we always went to for the previous several years. And I'm sitting in a place where, like, it's one of these places that is jammed way too many extra tables in now because it's the Super Bowl and most people don't actually have a good view of it. They're projecting it up onto just this like wood paneled wall on like at the other end of our little booth table. I'm sitting at the end of the booth. I'm not in the booth, so I'm staring straight up basically at the screen. And the Giants, they go out, they do the thing. Eli Manning. And I, at this point, one of the reasons I hate the Patriots so much is because I was a Peyton Manning guy. Loved Peyton, right? It was big. I wouldn't even say I was a big Colts guy. I just really liked Peyton Manning. And so here it is. This isn't quite Peyton, but here's his little brother. Can he do something? Can he get it done? And when we get the David Tyree catch against the helmet, I leap up out of my chair, 2 hands in the air, and immediately get yelled at by 3 tables behind us because I have forgotten that I am, like, the screen is being projected directly over our table. So everybody's yelling at me, and I'm fired up, and I am so Schreids, I couldn't possibly care less about the New York Giants. I don't care about the Giants. I just hate the Patriots so much that night will never not be awesome, despite the fact that you have somehow inexplicably forgotten that it ever happened.
You know what? It's funny because like I am a diehard Patriots fan. That was the first football game I ever watched start to finish.
Really?
Yeah, you couldn't waterboard me into watching football when I was in high school.
Well, then this probably didn't cut you as deep as I hoped it would. But
it did. Like it's weirdly the game that made me a Patriots fan because I was cheering for them. Josh and I had like just started dating, and I was like, oh, like I don't wish ill on my boyfriend. I would like him to be happy. We hadn't been dating that long. Yeah. That's long changed.
Yeah, he's a Leaf fan, just so you people know.
Yeah,
she's
I
over
always
it.
wished ill on that side of things. But I was like, yeah, like I'll watch the game. I hope this team wins. And I didn't really understand football before that because I had never watched it. So this was the first time that I actually understood the rules. And I was like, oh, once I understood the rules, I was like, hell yeah, I got really into it.
Yeah.
And so I was cheering for the Patriots, and then they lost. But weirdly after that, I was like, oh, I'm in. Like
because they seem like underdogs now, despite being the Death Star.
But it's funny because like people will call me a bandwagon jumper, and I'm like, yeah, like I fair, you're right.
That's how
to a
you
certain
get
extent.
Fans.
That's how you exactly. I'm like everyone jumps
Nobody
a bandwagon
watches
at some
the worst
point.
team in the league and goes, I'd like to make that my team.
Exactly. But it's funny because the game that made me a fan was the like most infamous game that they lost. and I've been a fan ever since, and like obviously it's 17 years later.
Yeah.
So it's it's stuck, but yeah, that it cut deep, but you're right, it didn't cut as deep as it could have.
Yeah, had
it's
you been a long
suffering
fan.
Yeah. But yeah, good. That's a good one.
Okay, so we'll keep asking about this. We got a couple of great shows coming up. Later this week, people are going to hear from Joshua O'Connor. I know that's not a name that everyone's familiar with, but a guy who worked at OSEG for a long time, the guy responsible for putting together the incredible Behind the R series that the Red Blacks did. He was the brains behind that, the visionary for it. He's now off doing his own thing, and I think people are going to enjoy this. So he'll be here on Wednesday. Next Monday at this time, you're going to hear from Kevin Mickey. He's a Toronto sports fan like me. I'm hoping his hate game will make me a little less hurt, but I don't know where he's going to go with that. We'll see. Dean Brown is going to be back on the show all before the summer is out, so stick around. Make sure you're subscribed. Schreids, I got one more beer I want to try here before we tee up a couple last subjects, and I only want to mention this one specifically because I think it's a good cause. This comes from the Sleeping Giant Brewing Company up in Thunder Bay. This is a I was going to say collaboration. It's not really a collaboration, but it's a community project with the United Way, and they have pledged to make this beer for 3 years, and 50 cents from every can sold will go to the United Way, trying to reduce poverty in the community up there, which is, it's gotten a little out of control. Like they're having a hard time up in Thunder Bay right now. So this is called the Smash Lager, and as I said, this time of year, this temperature, better is possible. Smash Lager from the Sleeping Giant Brewing Company, 5%, just a normal, crisp, run-of-the-mill lager. I think when you're doing a fundraiser like that, that's the way to go, right? Like, be approachable, be something that everyone can enjoy, as opposed to some sort of wild stout or a crazy strong IPA, which I got time for, but not everybody's got time for. So good on Sleeping Giant for throwing this one down.
That's awesome. Yeah, you're right. If you're going to do a fundraiser, make it a beer that like even non-craft beer drinkers would drink.
100%. So This one's actually got just a little tiny bit of fruitiness to it, which is kind of nice. Yeah, we like that. So, Schreids, you mentioned part of the joy of one of your hate watches was a documentary on it a little later on Netflix. Netflix is all over the news right now in sports, and I believe we just saw this week that they have acquired the broadcast rights for the Women's World Cup in 2027 and 2031. And I believe you maybe have a better handle on this than me. They had already got the American broadcast rights for the same two events. Am I right about that?
Yeah.
Yeah. We haven't seen it yet, so we don't know how this is exactly going to play out and what the presentation will be like, but Netflix is getting more and more into sports. I'm sure you watched both nights of SummerSlam on Netflix last weekend.
Oh my God, I actually did.
That a girl. They're getting more and more into this. We saw them on Christmas Day grab some NFL games. Are you happy that this has happened? They're going to be on Netflix. This big reach. Most households these days, or lots of households these days, have Netflix. Would you have preferred to see it stay on a more traditional outlet like a TSN in this country, or Sportsnet, or even like a CTV that everybody already has? You know, your sort of reaction to the news that if you want to watch the Women's World Cup for the next two cycles, it's going to be on Netflix.
Yeah, I kind of had two reactions to this, because on the one hand, it was announced a little while ago that Netflix was going to have like the general broadcast rights to it. So I think I assumed that they'd get the Canada broadcast rights eventually. And my initial response was, oh, that's awesome. I have Netflix. That's super easy. I don't have to worry about it. And there was some chatter online of like, and maybe this is just my, privileged ass not realizing, there are a lot of people who don't have streaming services, and for whom things like CBC is a real great service, because oftentimes, and I know they don't always have the World Cup, but like, having it through traditional cable is a little easier because not everyone has access to streaming services. So I understand. If you don't have
cable, right? Even over the air antenna, the CBC Gem is free because it's taxpayer. So it's a lower barrier of entry, if you want to call it that, like financially.
Exactly. Now, the World Cup, I think, has been TSN for a while, and I don't think they've shared it with CBC, so it's not as applicable here. But some people were, from an international standpoint, a little upset because I don't think it's always as guaranteed that people are going to have it. Now, I think for Canada specifically, we by and large have internet access throughout the country. I know there are still areas that don't, and that's a huge problem. I think it's a good thing in general. Netflix is fairly accessible, and if you don't have it, maybe you can get it for a month and then cancel it. Like, I find watching things on traditional cable to be getting harder and harder, because you can get like the TSN Plus app or the Sportsnet Plus or worth whatever their apps are, but they're becoming more expensive.
They really are. Both are well over $20 a month now. Like,
they're not always as good as or simple as just signing up and then canceling later. Like, really, if you want to watch sports on either of these platforms, you have to get some sort of cable or satellite service, and that's a whole other game, right? So I do think it's good. I think Netflix has worked out their kinks in live events, because it didn't always go well at the beginning. And I know they ran into some things.
The Mike Tyson, Jake Paul thing, right? Like, they're clearly testing this. They want to see if they can get it going, right? But they have had hiccups. That was a disaster of a broadcast that luckily got most of the main event out, but the earlier fights really struggled. I remember seeing problems with the NFL on Christmas Day as well. Like, they're trying to work this out and gain confidence in it, but they're clearly coming. They want to be a sports powerhouse.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I think by the time 2027 hits and the World Cup happens, like, hopefully they've worked that out and it runs much smoother. But
who's hosting those?
Brazil is 2027.
Okay, so that's a very North American friendly time zone. Yeah,
and that's the other thing. So like, if it weren't a North American friendly time zone, if we were looking at Europe or elsewhere where it's like 3 a.m, 4 a.m,
right?
What the good thing about streaming services is you can go in and either start live, you know, maybe mid-game, or watch the game later.
That's true.
Very, very easily, which I love that. I kind of hope that, and I highly doubt this happens, but like it would be nice to see Netflix and CBC maybe partner up so that it's also available on CBC for free here in Canada. I highly doubt they will do that.
Too, yeah.
But I remain hopeful that, you know, any way to make it more accessible, I think is a good thing. I think by and large, this is the future of broadcasting from a sporting perspective. I love the idea of sports on streaming services, because right now I have to pay for full-on cable just to watch a handful of games every year, and it drives me insane.
Yeah.
And it's a common experience for a sports fan, right?
But it's going to be the same thing, right? Like they're going to be all over. Like right now we have the NHL and PWHL doing some games on Amazon Prime. And some games not. And now you're going to have some events over on Netflix, and you're going to have some on TSN. And like, they're still doing their best to each grab their chunk of the pie. And they don't care if they have all of the pie. They just want to make sure there's enough there that makes you have to have each service, which at the end of the day is going to be no different than having to pay for each channel on cable. Like, it makes you crazy the way this is playing out.
We're going back to cable. Like, we're going to have people start bundling these services, and we're just going to go back to the whole premise of cable. I love in theory what the WNBA does, for example, with their League Pass, which you pay $30 for the year and you have all the games on the app. Now, unfortunately, not all the games, because if it's nationally broadcast on like ABC, we can't access those games. And then that sucks as a Canadian, because those games aren't always on TSN.
Yeah.
Sometimes if I don't have access to like a specific ABC, because there's like 8 different versions within Fibe, like I get screwed because it's not on the app, and I also don't have ABC. But those are pretty rare. But I just wish it was like, I would give the NHL money to be able to open an app and watch all of the games.
Right.
Why is this so hard?
Yeah. No, any league that's like this, right? Like MLB TV, you can have it, but not your own team. Like, well, then why would I ever bother? Like, how big of a baseball fan do you have to be? Like, baseball's a sport that plays every night. How much time do you think I have for other teams? So you're going to give me the whole league, but not my team? Why on earth would I buy that, right?
That's so dumb.
It really is. All of these leagues are the same way. It's like, we'll give you everything except for this is national, and that's a blackout one, and that just tell me what the price is to get every one of my team's games, and then I'll make a decision on whether it's worth it or not.
This is the thing. People want to pay, will be happy to pay a reasonable price for ease of access to their favorite sports. And I think in theory, stuff like with Netflix, that's what we have. But you're right. Then it's like, well, this is on Netflix and this is on Amazon. It's like a show. It's like, well, this show's on Netflix, but this one's on Amazon, and this one's on some other streaming service I don't have. So the cord cutting days are over. Now we just pay the same amount in subscription fees for these streaming services.
As it is, Schreids, like, that was what was brilliant for those of us in Canada about WWE going to Netflix. It's all there. All of the weekly shows, all of the pay-per-views. If you are a wrestling fan, you're done. You get Netflix and that's it. You don't need to have 2 or 3 different ones, right? So I don't know if that was the best business decision for WWE, but it was a great one for fans. And it's just these other leagues, they know it too, as do the distributors, right? There's a Thursday night NFL game on Prime, and then it's Fox, and it's NBC, and it's now Christmas on Netflix, and you're like, just shoot me. Just let me buy something through the league website.
Let me go to the league website and go purchase game.
Yeah. Honestly,
$2.99 is like iTunes, or the original
or
iTunes. $1.99.
Here's every game you're going to play this year, right? Like, not even just my team. Give me the whole thing, and make the number as outrageous as you need to go around these other distributors, and then I'll decide. Yeah, you know what? No headaches. No trying to figure out what channel that's on, which streaming service. Just stop screwing with me.
Please just make it easy. I just want to watch sports.
Netflix. I'm curious if you've already seen this one. Schreids came out on the 7th. It's called Tarazi.
It's on Amazon.
Is it really?
Yeah, it's Amazon Prime. Sorry, go on.
Either way, okay. So another one of these sort of documentaries that follows an athlete, follows a league. Like, these are becoming more and more popular all over the place. Have you sat down and watched Tarazi?
Not yet. However,
I'm stunned. But
I know.
As soon as I let you go.
Yeah. Let me finish. I obviously am going to watch it. Josh has expressed interest in watching it with me, so I have to wait for him.
Okay.
And that's one of the most frustrating experiences because this man does not binge watch things. So like I've got to wait for his schedule and my schedule to align. I think tonight we're going to start it because I've just been sitting on this since they announced it. I am so excited for this. Now, I suspect, unfortunately, because of the obsessive person that I am, I'm not going to learn much from it. I already know everything there is to know about Diana Taurasi. Right. However, the same thing happened with Sue Bird when her documentary came out. And do I own it and have I watched it several times? Absolutely. So I am very excited for this documentary series.
Yeah, these come out often, right? And like you said, if you're a bit of a nerd or you're overly invested in some of these, you don't always learn a lot, but these companies have done a terrific job of embedding themselves into locker rooms or into press conferences, into games, having people mic'd up. You know, based on what you've seen, this one that's going to follow Diana Taurasi, what's the premise in your understanding, and are you expecting to get much new, or do you think this will be a lot that you already did kind of or were aware of?
I mean, you never know. I'm sure there's going to be stuff in there that I've learned or that I learned. And I think stuff like this is just a really important entry point to sports for a lot of people, right? Mm-hmm. Like we saw, everyone always uses the example of Drive to Survive on Netflix and the F1 popularity that from a North American standpoint anyway, that came after that. That's what we're all shooting for now,
right? They're all that's the high water mark.
And I'll admit that for some, I'll hear an argument that maybe we need to change it up because there's too many of them now. But I love documentaries that follow a specific athlete. I think it's something in women's sports that we need more of. I mentioned the Netflix documentary about the U.S. women's national team at the World Cup. Like, we need more of that for women's sports. I think it's very popular in men's sports, but it's still kind of growing in women's sports. And that's how you get people involved, right? You sell them on the superstars and the legends, which Diana Taurasi is. Mm-hmm. And one of the things I'm really looking forward to in the documentary, and they get into this in the Sue Bird documentary as well, but I've seen some clips from DT's documentary going around, is people are shocked around like the stuff that she had to put up with, the fact that she and Sue had to go play in Russia just to make money. They played for a friggin' mob boss who got assassinated while they were there. Like, just the stories that they have of how they just tried to make a living playing basketball in the early 2000s blows my freaking mind. The way that
the tagline, or one of the big promotional clips that they're using, is that the fucking janitor made more than I did, right?
Yeah.
In America.
She's not wrong.
Right. So I got to go to Russia and play. Like,
exactly. For like an organized crime leader. And one thing they certainly touched on it in the Sue Bird documentary, and I think they might, maybe less so in Diana Taurasi's, but in the early 2000s, like when Sue Bird and DT were coming up in the league, like they really tried to sell them on the straight, pretty girl next door angle. Like they over sexualized them.
Right.
And we, got Sue Bird's perspective on that, who, is obviously a gay woman being forced to stay in the closet and not come out publicly, to market the league. So just like seeing the evolution of all that and seeing what, the WNBA is in such a great spot right now and experiencing amazing growth, and people love to say it's all because of Caitlin Clarke, and obviously that is a huge part of it. But I love when we give respect.
Help sports leagues, right?
Yeah. But I love when we give respect to the players who got the league where it was when she got here, and the shit that they had to put up with, because it was wild. Some of the stories that from these players playing in the early days of the league, some of the stuff that they had to put up with was just unbelievable. So I'm really looking forward to that. I love Diana Taurasi. She has such a great sound. Like, she will tell it like it is. She will say things like, the fucking janitor made more than me, right? Like, she's such a great quote. She's such a great soundbite. And I'm so excited to see her honest opinion of what it was like throughout her career, because she is the best to ever play the game.
Well, this is it, right? And I'm going to watch this one. As you know, I'm not a big basketball fan, but you're saying maybe we've done these or we need to find a new approach. I still love them. Like, whenever these behind this, I've watched them all. As many, whether it's like, I loved Attack on the whatever, the one about the championship game in England, the riots there and the soccer. Like, I couldn't possibly care less about soccer, but I'll watch that. Like, when these things go behind the scenes like that, they'll get me every single time. And I do know enough about Taurasi to know that she won't hold back. And so I'm looking forward to checking this out and just getting that kind of viewpoint of what the WNBA was like before it had kind of these bright lights that are on it right now, and it is having this exponential growth that we're seeing year over year. It wasn't always like that. So I'm curious to see what this one's all about. It has my attention, like a lot of them do. I know that's a personality that is likely to make it interesting.
Absolutely. And this is just my shameless self-plug, but I have to use it at any opportunity to do that. It's not really a self-plug, but of my self-interests. If you like Diana Taurasi, the documentary, I highly recommend watching Sue Bird's documentary. It is on Netflix.
Okay.
For also a great look inside what it was like.
I didn't know you liked
early
her.
days of her career. They have very similar trajectories. They both played at UConn, like all that. They were the faces of the league for a long time. It's a fantastic watch, so highly recommend.
Well, I got not much to do around here right now. As long as the weather's nice, I'll be outside, and then in the evenings, just watching TV. So I'll put them both on the list. Anything else you think we should touch on before we get out of here, Schreids?
No, I don't think so.
No, I'm with you.
Just pray for your fall girlies right now. We are suffering.
I've never heard that term before in my life.
Fall girlies?
Yeah.
Oh, Matt. I'm surprised you've known me for this long and I have never mentioned fall girlies.
No, you've always said it was basic white. I don't remember. One of the early days that you were on this show, you had some term for your basic white girl fall or something
Basic
like
white girl
that.
fall?
Something like that. That I've always enjoyed. As we approach, what is it? I always forget the term until it's all over the place. The pumpkin spice.
Pumpkin spice.
Yes, exactly.
Pumpkin spice. Let's go.
It's 33 degrees sitting here right now, but we are like less than a month away from pumpkin spice appearing all over the place. So
Yay.
that's September. Schreids has one feeling about it. I have a different one, but that's fine. You know what? I don't mind a pumpkin spice beer now and then. So we'll do that at some point. Schreids, look, as I mentioned off the top, you are an enabler. You allow me to sit back here and get this done. You always make a couple appearances every summer remotely, so I can do this. The next time you're on the show in person, I owe you a couple of beers. Thank you so much for doing it.
Of course. Always happy to encourage one's ability to stay at the cottage.
Kevin Mickey will help me out with that next Monday, so stay tuned. Like I said, Joshua O'Connor this week, Dean Brown still to come. Look, lots of great stuff still on the podcast here throughout the rest of the summer as I reach out to all my favorite enablers. Schreids, anything you can let us know? I know it's still early in the week. What's coming up on She's Got Game?
Well, can say that not this week, but next week, I will have likely a recap of my trip to Seattle as I head to the unveiling of Sue Bird's statue at Climate Pledge Arena next weekend. So that's what I'm looking forward to this week.
Can't miss for Michaela Schreiter, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
And also, low-key, a craft beer capital, the Pacific Northwest. They know what's up.
You may recall, Matt, last time I went to Seattle, it was a bit of a shit show. We missed a day. We got stuck in Vancouver. We got COVID, all this stuff. Yes. So I'm looking forward to getting more time to explore the craft beer scene in Seattle because it did not go well for me last time. So here's hoping, knock on wood, it goes better this time.
Well, bring me back something nice, but only from one of the breweries. Yeah. We'll wrap it up there. For Michaela Schreiter on She's Got Game across the TSN Radio Network every weekend or available as a podcast. Grab it there and check it out whenever you want. As I said, Joshua O'Connor on Wednesday, Kevin Mickey next Monday. Lots of good stuff to come around here as well. For Michaela Schreiter, my name is Matt Robinson. Thank you so much for listening. I'm headed to the lake. We'll catch you all later in the week.
Time to take